friends, happy to see you all on today's stream. My name is Christina. As you can remember from yesterday, I'm a crypto blogger, and you can check my Telegram chat. I recently became a trader, and you can see my whole journey in this Telegram group. So join it. I'm also the investor relationship department, the head of the investor relationship department in Platinum, and the advisor for University of Blockchain and Investing. Today is the third day of our free online conference run by New Economy in partnership with University of Blockchain and Investing. Wow, days are running so fast. It's already third day, right, guys? We had a lot of speakers who explained us the blockchain technology and the crypto market. We understood how to start a crypto project and make it successful. We had a panel discussion with crypto market leaders who made clear things that are happening in the crypto world today and what to expect in the future, what is more important. Yesterday was about important things too, like crypto and finance, how we can integrate them. We also talked to mining market leaders who explained that now it's kind of a good time to invest in crypto mining. So far, the equipment is not really expensive, and we also discussed security tokens and their future. Today, we're going to highlight regional specifications of crypto projects in different countries. We will discuss the major issues and benefits of using blockchain technology. We will understand what we can expect and how the mass adoption of blockchain technology going to look like in future. I would like to mention that we provide the blockchain study courses of different level in our academy. With less than $50, you will have access to all recordings of this conference. Studying this new economy technology will help everybody to find new companies to work and even the new project to collaborate with. One more small announcement. Right after this conference, we will start our master classes. We will work on all topics that we were covering during the conference more deeply. So it's gonna be interesting, guys. I recommend you to join. Also, do not forget that we have a flash mob over here again and again. All you need to do is to hold your hands like this and take a picture, post it in every social media you have, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, with the hashtag CryptoStrong. Tag 3 friends of yours, just to let them know that we are supporting our blockchain. Everybody twist your hands right now, take pictures, and I will like each photo of yours. Really, I did it today, and I will do it tomorrow. Before we start our discussion, I would like to present our sponsor for this stream, Astra. Astra International Mining Pool, responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Members' share never expire, 100% reinvestment of equipment. Do not forget to join our chat also, ask questions that you find more interesting, and please type in your city. I am currently in Tokyo, as you can remember, and it's already 10 p.m. over here. So I would love to meet you guys in our chat, and please ask your questions anytime during the conference. I'm checking the chat all the time, and whenever you choose the most important questions for our speakers, I will ask them. So it's time to invite our new guest for this informational stream with the topic, by the way, the best countries for crypto projects. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairwoman of African Blockchain Association, Yalive Sokol.
Thank you so much for having me, Christina. It's actually Blockchain Association of Africa. just a minor correction there.
Oh my, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
I got it like this.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to see a woman in crypto world, and you know, on such a high position. It's a pleasure of mine, and I'm honored to talk to you right now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, maybe you can tell us more about your background. How did you came to this position, and how did you come into crypto?
Okay, my story starts like this. I actually got into the crypto space in 2016. It's not something that I planned. I just find myself working for an online platform that actually paid me in Bitcoin. So it was really interesting because then I had access to change that Bitcoin for actual fiat currency whenever I needed to use it. So I got introduced to all those platforms like Local Bitcoin and other platforms like blockchain.info and the likes. So I started to develop an interest in the space. And during the course of 2017, I began to teach myself. So I created what I usually call a learner guide. And this was like a mini beginner's learner guide. And then it moved from what is blockchain to crypto until it got to the advanced stage where I taught myself on ICOs and everything else. Before I knew it, this learner guide was over 100 pages. So it was a tool that I used to teach myself. It had questions and I had to answer them. And then from there, I did a lot of work in the space. I started a meetup group. It was called the Johannesburg Women in Blockchain. And I would teach the ladies using my learner guide on blockchain and crypto. And then I got the exposure and I spoke at different events locally and internationally. And then when there was this position for the Blockchain Association of Africa chairperson, I was considered mainly due to the work that I'd done in the space. And as a woman in Africa, I was really honored and I've been moving with it.
Wow. Wow, that's such a great history. Thank you so much. And let's talk about any specifications. Are there any specific requirements for running a crypto project in your country?
At the moment, there are no specific requirements. I think it also depends on what you want to do. There's just your normal registration with the company registration if you want to. But at the moment, the government is still looking into the blockchain. They're still looking into seeing what it can do for the country and for the continent. So there's going to be regulation, which I believe will be very soon, but it won't be strict regulation. It will actually be friendly to crypto startups.
Crypto friendly, like Malta?
Oh, hopefully better than Malta.
Fingers crossed. Okay, all the exchanges are going to be South African though soon.
Oh yes.
Okay.
We actually do have some that are coming into South Africa at the moment.
Wow, that's great.
Like Luno is doing very well, and Luno is not African, but they're doing extremely well.
Okay, guys, take it into account, okay? And which country of your region do you consider like the best for crypto projects?
At the moment, I have 3 countries, and I'll give you a few reasons. Yeah. So I have South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. So looking at South Africa, I do believe South Africa has the infrastructure and the development, so it'll be easier for you to set up a startup here. And also, South Africa and Nigeria have been tying in one of the the most searched Bitcoin countries globally. So South Africa was first. They searched Bitcoin more than any other country. Nigeria at a point was first. So if you can see, Africans are actually up for it. So South Africa, then Nigeria, when it comes to mass adoption as well as the enthusiasm of the Nigerians in the space, they've been moving very fast at the moment. And also the population, I mean, it's a country with over 180 million people. So imagine if you have such a number of users. And Kenya, because they're more tech savvy in terms of the continent. So if anything to do with technology, we think Kenya. And they're actually one of the pioneers of this mobile money transfers as well, if you know of M-Pesa. So those are the 3 countries that I would recommend.
Well, thank you. And what could you advise to our international audience to do to make their crypto projects more successful, like for the current market and for the current situation?
Okay, for the current market on the continent, if they would like to right? Or just in general?
Just in general, like, yeah.
Okay. I think the most important thing at the moment is to have an actual working product, something
Yes.
that is able to change lives. I believe in changing lives. First, you have to think of what it would do for somebody before you start your project.
Sure.
You find that you identify a need. I believe next year we're going to have a lot of startups falling off the ladder because they don't have a very viable project and a product behind it. So only the ones with actual products that are going to change lives are going to stand. That is what I feel. So they should have something that will change lives.
Yeah. And thank you. We have the first question from the chat, which is, yes, people are really interested. What is possible to buy in Africa for cryptocurrency?
Oh, what is possible to buy? Okay, so
good question. Thank you.
At the moment, I think I've used my Bitcoin card at restaurants. I mean, I bought food with it. In South Africa, at the moment, we have a Bitcoin ATM in the mall.
Wow.
Oh, yes, we do. So, I mean, especially if you have your Visa card, I mean, you can purchase almost anything. I've withdrawn money from an ATM.
that is so great. Wow.
It is.
Yeah. And what areas, like, what areas or industries do you think the most suitable for blockchain technology?
I think there's a lot of use cases. So one that is close to heart is electricity. I mean, Africa is struggling with a lot of electricity problems right now. Sometimes we do have power outages. So if you can have a solution that can actually help to tap into that industry, make electricity cheaper. And also the other thing is something that could be able to facilitate trade, that is among the countries, because Africa has over 50 countries, and you find that almost each and every countries except a few use a different currency. So if I want to go to Nigeria, for example, I have to usually convert my rands to dollars, and then when I get there, convert my dollars to rands, which becomes a little bit more expensive. So if we could have something that could facilitate trade and also transactions besides Bitcoin, I mean, something that is African, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for this tremendously interesting dialogue. Thank you so much for joining us for the answers of our audience. And I'd like to present our sponsor once again for this information stream, Astra. Astra International Mining Pool, responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Member shares never expire, 100% of reinvested on equipment. And guys, are you in the chat? Are you live? We are waiting for your questions. Just remember that this is the one of a lifetime opportunity to talk to the woman who is the chairman of an African blockchain association. That's right. Or
Blockchain Association of Africa.
Africa.
Blockchain Association of Africa. Yes.
Again, wrong. Okay.
No problem.
Okay. They are probably. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I am just. Oh, okay. Another questions. Do you have your own experience with scam ICOs?
Oh, yes, definitely. There have been quite a lot, and some of them have been local, and some of them have been international. And a lot of people have been so involved to the point that when you speak to them about blockchain and crypto, they'll be like, "Oh, it's a scam. Most of these things are a scam." So we've had quite a large share of those.
Thank you so much.
It's
And our pleasure to have us, to have you with us. Thank you so much. And as far as I can see, we have another speaker that just joined us. Oh, okay. Another question. They don't want to let you go. Sorry.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Does the government in Africa trying to control crypto payments?
Not really, but they're trying to control. They're trying to actually help people from getting scammed, because what was happening, especially in South Africa, is that people ended up getting loans. They'll go to the bank, get a loan to invest in scams, and then they can't repay. They can't repay the loans, so it becomes a problem on the nation. And also recently, there was an incident in Zambia where there was a startup, apparently some coin that were asking people to bring cash, and they invest in crypto. So the government had to actually close that app and do thorough investigations before the culprits were brought to book. So I think they're not trying to stop crypto payments. They actually believe there's a lot that can be done, but they're just trying to see how do we regulate it, because I think the Department of Science and Technology in South Africa is actually looking at building a blockchain hub. I was actually part of a consultative workshop, and they wanted to hear from us who are already involved in the space, how do they go about it? So they're actually looking into promoting blockchain, but for good use, obviously.
Yeah, that's interesting. On your way, when you walked into crypto, based on your experience, what were the major issues and difficulties that you had? How did you handle them?
I think the major difficulty that I had was just a lack of trust from people when they see you. I've got quite a petite frame, and when I go somewhere, before I speak, people, when they invite you to speak, they'll be like, they're expecting somebody else. And then they'll be like, oh, you're one of our speakers. So I was at this event one time, and I was actually the first speaker there. And the guy that was the technical guy says to me, may I have your presentation? So I gave it to him. And they asked me, are you nervous? I said, no, I'm not. He was like, you know what, I'm actually nervous for you. So I think there was a lack of trust until I spoke. And then they'll be like, oh, wow. That was the major difficulty that I faced. Otherwise, after that, it hasn't been a smooth ride, but it has been worth it.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much for all your answers, and thank you guys that you're so live, and you have a lot of questions, and you're paying attention, and you're interested in our session. Thank you so much. And we have for today's stream also a speaker. It's Nadezhda Surova, who is director of Institute of Management and Social Economics in Russia. And I would like Nadezhda to talk about regulations of crypto in Russia, if you don't mind.
Dear colleagues, I'm very glad to welcome you on behalf of the largest economic university, the Russian University of Economics. I want to introduce you to the crypto economy that is now developing in Russia. We understand that the economy is changing at a rapid pace due to the technologies that we have developed. These are 9 technologies and service solutions offered by the Russian Federation government. Let me show you the world through the eyes of Russians, the innovations that we predict that we create for you. Let's recall these 9 technologies. The first is blockchain, industrial internet, robotics and sensors, big data, new production technologies, quantum technologies, virtual and augmented reality, artificial intelligence and neural networks, and 3G internet. What is all of this? As you can see, all of this is combined through new financial technologies. These financial technologies and the role that they play in Russia is what I want to tell you about. In the Russian Federation, there is a single document called the Digital Economy Program, signed by our president. This document spells out the essence of these 9 technologies and service solutions that the government is committed to developing. This is not a blockchain platform. It is a large platform coupled with big data and artificial intelligence. We consciously understand that with the help of new technologies, it is possible to develop our economy, the Russian economy, and we can enter into the top 5 largest economies of the world. To date, the Russian Federation introduced 3 basic laws associated with cryptocurrency. This is the law on digital financial assets, which has been reviewed for the first time in our main legislative body, the State Duma of the Russian Federation, in which the Russian Federation recognizes cryptocurrency. Also, definitions of such basic concepts as data verification, blockchain technology, smart contract, and all that is necessary for the development of a crypto economy in our country are introduced here. Of course, we understand that in order for a new economy, crypto economy, to develop, it is necessary to increase the competence of people employed in this field. Russia has done a lot in order to begin at a small age so that the citizens of Russia get acquainted with the new economy and new technologies. What I'm showing you today, these cubes are nothing more than a kind of child-friendly simulation of the possibility of businesses' capitalization and how tokens are used in different business areas. You can create not only just businesses, but brand new businesses. And of course, the main focus is now on the universities, higher education institutions, which have begun to train specialists, including those who deal with the crypto economy. The first university of the Russian Federation, which was engaged in the preparation to train people associated with the cryptocurrency business, is the Russian Economic University. This is the classic university with 111-year history, the oldest academic institution in Russia. Plekhanov University is a huge branch network with 64 branches, including branches abroad in Mongolia and Germany. It has 72,000 students and 2,800 top teachers. And of course, for the Plekhanov University, it is a great honor to do such an awesome conference together with the New Economy Media Holding that is associated with the training and preparation of personal participants in the cryptocurrency market. And in conclusion, I implore each one of you to do what's necessary so that we can provide ourselves with a promising future. And the main thing, I think, is to increase our own competence, the competence of ourselves, our friends, and our company. Educate with us. Educate for us.
Okay, thank you. Now I see that all countries set up blockchain in different way. They do have benefits as well, obviously, but the technology itself has started its evolution. Now, no one can step aside and just ignore the blockchain technology. We are heading to this new economy in full steam ahead. Now we will have a tiny break for approximately 10 minutes and we'll get back to you. Pour yourself some coffee and then back. We'll have another session really, really soon.
We build the strongest mining company in the world. Tell us that it's impossible to earn money in honest ways. We have made a clear system where you can check every single Bitcoin exchange. Consider our solutions easy. We will invest 100% of your stock to buy equipment. Question the reliability of mining investment. We are ready to buy your share at any moment. Take our equipment. We are building mining farms all over the world and have an insurance fund. That way sudden losses won't affect our incomes. Think you decide nothing? We are building an active community where every opinion matters. Take your part in leading it by speaking up and giving your vote. Debate with us. We don't have offshores. Our public contract can be changed only if you wanted to. Criticize us. We have the cheapest equipment on the market, and the daily fee would cost you 14 cents US dollars terahash per second. Try to find an alternative? You'll be surprised. There is none.
many topics, and there's many information about what's happening in the crypto world with cryptocurrency and all the topics that the speakers are providing. And the volume of all this information is pretty high, and it's sometimes difficult to adopt all the information very quickly, just in 4 days of the conference. And I think you know the case when you join the conference, but you have left only approximately 10 or 20% of the information from that conference. So if this is actual for you, I have a tool, and also I have a tool for other cases. We have prepared record specs. These record specs include all the days of the conference recorded, but this is not the only case that we have for you. Sometimes it's hard to look through all the hours of the conference. So we have prepared the special spec number 1 that is on the slide 1. I will show it to you on the presentation. This is special information that is compressed to the PDF file that you will see now on the slide 2. So you get not only records of the conference, of the all dates and all the speakers, but you also get a PDF file with statuses of the speakers. It's very convenient and a very good way to get it quickly. Now, on the third slide, I would like to show you also the interactive mind map, a map with all the information from the conference that you can use in interactive way, and it is also a very easy way to look through the topics and through the key points of the conference. So this record spec is pretty affordable. It costs only $49.9 US, and you can get it right by the links below this video. But also in the spec there is included a small course, a course for those who is new to the crypto world, who would like to know the basic principles of how the cryptocurrency works, how blockchain works. And if you want to get in touch with the crypto information, this course is specially designed for you, so you will know what it is about. The second spec includes all the records also, and PDF files and interactive maps, but also it includes an advanced course. This course is for those who already know what is cryptocurrency, what to do with it, and it contains information on how to store it, how to send it, how to receive it, which services to use, which devices to use, and everything you need to know to already use the cryptocurrency. And in this spec, there's also included a special masterclass. The online masterclass that you can see on the next slide is a special event. That's a private group. That's a private event that is being held on 17th till 19th December. It will be 3 days from next Monday. Every day there will be 2 hours of online group with top experts from this conference, where we will discuss the hottest topics of the crypto world, and we will get the exact recommendations from speakers that you can follow through and apply to your current situation in business or in life. And in packet 3, on the 7th slide, we also have a professional course for those who are already investing or is going to invest to the cryptocurrency and into blockchain technologies, and who is looking for the projects and some criteria which to apply when you choose the project you want to invest in. And in this spec, in this course, there's a very deep description of the ICOs and projects, and on how to get into these projects and how to do it properly. So this course is for those who already feel themselves as an expert or would like to become them. And also in this course, there's a special bonus. We include in this course a premium networking group. This is a group of people who are willing, like you, to get in touch, to exchange contacts on the topics of the cryptocurrency and the crypto world. And maybe if you wish to create new partnership or exchange with a group of people who is also willing to solve these questions, this networking group is especially for you. And by the way, this group is a bunch of people who chooses the topics of the third day of the masterclass that is held on 17th and 19th December. The masterclass is also included in the third pack. And so that's the tools that you can use with this conference to fully adopt all the information. And I wish you
Hello guys,
very
can you hear me?
energetic year, 2019, and to be on the top of the energy, to be fully powered, enjoy courses, enjoy masterclass, and enjoy a networking group on the links that are below this video. And if you have any questions, just type them in the chat below. Have a nice day. Bye.
my friends, and welcome back. I am happy to return to you with starting our second stream for today with the topic mass adoption of blockchain. The blockchain technology, as we see, rise fast and tries to integrate in many regular businesses. Do we expect its mass adoption in the nearest future? Should we all be ready for this massive use in our everyday life? Stay with us and you will soon know. My name is still Christina, by the way, and today is the third day of our free online conference run by New Economy in partnership with University of Blockchain and Investing. I would like to mention that we provide the blockchain study courses of different level in our academy. With less than $50, you will have access to all recordings of this conference. Studying the new economy technologies will help everybody to find new companies to work and new projects to collaborate with. And also not forget, guys, that we have a flash mob, and all you need to do is to cross your hands like this, take a picture, post it in your social media with the hashtag CryptoStrong, and let's show our support to the blockchain. Before we start our discussion, I would like to present our sponsor, as usual, for this informational stream. It's Astra International Mining Pool, responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Member shares never expire, 100% reinvestment on equipment. Do not forget to join our chat as well, ask questions that you find the most interesting for you, and please type in your city. I am really enjoying to read your questions, guys, and I would love to know where you're from. I'm now currently in Tokyo, and it's already 11 p.m. here, so I just drank a lot of coffee to meet our next speakers. And let's turn to self-presentation. We have Kenny Shi, who is the Executive Director of CoinSuper, and Stefana Virgili, who is the ICO advisor on VOXC SG. Pleasure to meet you, gentlemen.
Likewise, thank you for the introduction, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you both, gentlemen. The topic is hot, and can we really expect the mass adoption, and what will happen with blockchain projects? Let's start with Kenny. Can you tell about your project more, and what is it called, and what is it all about?
Sure. So for those of people out there that don't know CoinSuper, again, my name is Kenny Shi. I'm the executive director of CoinSuper. We are the largest exchange actually in Hong Kong. We only started actually this year, February, so it's been less than a year, but we've already reached 1.5 million registered users, which is quite an accomplishment in 10, 11 months time. And so basically, to explain a little bit more about CoinSuper, one of our biggest advantages is that our team is mostly comprised of people from investment banking and traditional banking background, including myself. I'm a former Morgan Stanley person, and one of the biggest things that we do as an exchange is we actually we are fiat to crypto exchange, which is very different than just a pure crypto to crypto exchange. And that when you're dealing with fiat currency, it's a lot more difficult, a lot more cumbersome. So,
and what do you think? What's the importance of centralized exchanges?
As I mentioned, because we deal with fiat as an on-ramp for people to come into crypto, it's quite an important role. I think the whole topic of mainstream adoption, I think there's less than 2% of people are in crypto, right? But because less than 2% of people are actually in, the first step that people will take is to usually make a US dollar or a fiat deposit to buy some Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatnot. They're typically not going to just jump to a pure crypto to crypto exchange. And so that's I think it's one of the biggest, most important things as a as a centralized fiat exchange, is that we're able to get more people into crypto from the beginning. Is there kind of the first touch point, if you will?
Yeah. True. Thank you so much. And Stefano, do you think that ICO for today, they're really finished?
Yes, and I'm really surprised that I'm still getting introduced as an ICO advisor. ICO is dead in February this year, 9 months ago. If you are still singing on the Titanic and playing the music, you haven't realized that the ship has already sank. The price of the cryptocurrency went down 95%. There is nothing to cheer about, nothing to be strong about. It's finished. The market is completely finished. And it's really naive to carry on talking about ICOs. ICO is an exercise that doesn't work anymore. Over the past 3 months, I've been contacted by 26 exchanges that they asked me, begging to find projects to list on their exchanges. The exchanges are, Kenny, with all the due respect, the cancer that have killed the ICO. Everyone buying a token and put tokens onto exchange, hoping to make money. Nobody cares at all about the token utility. And I've seen over 200 presentations of ICO this year. Every founder that goes on stage and talks about ICO's utility has no idea what the token is all about. You can ask anyone, and you can ask yourself, have you bought any tokens? If you have bought tokens, be honest and truthful to yourself. 3,200 people connected here today online. How many of you have used a token this week, not for the purpose of transacting the token? Everyone buy the token to make money, to buy a Lamborghini, to go to the moon, to make money out of a token. Nobody buys the token to use the token. That is why the future of ICO is only possible with STO.
Can I make a comment though? I think, actually 90% of ICOs and tokens in general, they don't even reach an exchange. So most projects don't even reach to get to that level of being on an exchange. And so I guess what Stefano mentioned is I do agree completely. There's been like rampant a lot of fraudulent activity in terms of fundraising. A lot of projects that had no follow up, no follow through, no intention to actually build something. And so certainly we're seeing like another coming of a tech bubble essentially, and the cream of the crop of the existing tokens will ultimately rise, right? But I wouldn't say it's the exchange's fault per se, because we are doing due diligence and we're quite held out on quality control still. So it's like I said, most projects don't even make it onto an exchange.
From the point of view of Singapore, where I live, there are 111 recorded exchanges here. There are currently more than 2,000 exchanges. There are more exchanges than projects themselves. And every exchange comes with the same value proposition, that they have bankers on board, that they have high-profile people, that they all screen the projects. They all say the same exact things. I never heard an exchange saying, we just take any random projects. They all come with exorbitant fees. They want to get paid. They get on board onto the exchange having a market maker that defines how much is the worth of the token price. The token price is never defined by the demand and supply, it's always defined by market makers. Every exchange that you want to enter is the market maker that trades with robots on multiple devices, 24/7, 365 days a year. And the only one that loses the community. The community shouldn't hold up like this. The community should be furious that the money has been stolen by the exchanges from the community, from hundreds of thousands. The max adoption doesn't exist. It's not 2%. There was a forecast for 40 million users this year. In January, they were talking about 40 million users this year. It's less than 25 million. That is not 2%. That's 0.3% of the world population.
Yeah, so I meant less than 2%. Yeah,
the largest ICO in the world, they've attracted 72,000 buyers. 72,000 buyers is less than 0.0001% of the world population. We're talking about an industry. We are there patting our back, saying that we are strong and we are changing the world, where 99.999% of the world population have not participated in the most successful ICO in the world. And when I hear someone say that the ICO industry is still alive, they are dreaming. You see, you've got Christmas tree behind you. I can't believe that Santa Claus will come, but it will not come. The same as the return of the ICO, it will not come.
Sure. But would you agree that utility tokens are not necessarily it's not a zero-sum game where utility tokens and security tokens can coexist, though. Do you agree to some standpoint? Or
yes, absolutely. But the only way for a utility token to coexist with a security token is through two separate ecosystems, where in one ecosystem there is a non-tradable utility token, NTUT, not fungible. Don't use the word fungible. Fungible is to confuse people. Non-tradable, meaning it doesn't go onto exchange. And together with it, you have a security token, which is meant for the purpose of making money. So enough telling the stories to the buyers. The only purpose of utility tokens was to sell security to unqualified buyers, to unqualified investors, that they were conned and cheated in losing 90% of the money that they put it on the exchange. Quote for me, one single project over the past 10 years of blockchain, 10 years of blockchain, one project that have attracted money during an ICO, maintain the token price high or increase the token price, return all the money to the investors, develop the production of an ecosystem as they promised it, and generated profit. Of 10,000 over ICOs, 0 have managed to do this. It's an industry with a zero-sum game. Nobody makes money except the robots and the exchanges. The exchanges have killed the market. The big exchanges, more than what you guys probably have done, although you say you are the largest in Hong Kong, but the biggest exchanges are those that have killed the market.
Do you think that STO going to be the new way of fundraising for projects?
It will be until September next year. The maximum peak will be between March and June next year. After June to September, it will be already old news.
I think it will also be more complicated and like I said, it'll specifically be geared towards accredited investors. So the beauty of a utility token and the whole idea of crowdsourcing, you're kind of a little bit more limited with STO because, like I said, it's a smaller pool of people that can actually participate. But I've met with a lot of really interesting STO projects. I think that they will, in fact, change the way we do a lot of things. Like including things like, for instance, in the entertainment industry or other different industries. I feel like the STO market will be very dynamic, but I don't think it'll just completely displace, the beauty of a utility token actually. So that's my own opinion. Yep.
In the security token, currently I'm working on two projects that are quite interesting. One, we are tokenizing a cruise ship. It's probably the world's first tokenized cruise ship. It's a pure security token. The cruise ship makes a conservative profit of 24%. Do you want part of it? Buy the token, as simple as that. And we have the license, we buy the license to sell to anyone that wants to buy it, not only the qualified investors. Same goes for another project I'm involved in too, which is called Pocket Money. Pocket Money is for financial inclusion. There are millions and millions and millions and millions of people that, because they don't want to have a bank account or they don't desire to have a bank account, they transact on over the counter for $100, $500 small loans. If I want to take part in that loan business, which is very profitable, you can tokenize that performance. So pocketmoney.credit and the other one is eternitystar.com.sg. I'm working at these two security token projects. We haven't started the security token work yet, except for drafting the two ecosystems that I'm envisioning. One is a lifestyle ecosystem with non-tradable utility token, and the other one is a security token ecosystem with a financial purpose. But for now, we are doing equity rounds. But I don't think there will be a future where people will buy utility token for the purpose of using the utility tokens. They only buy utility token to make money out of it. And the period where you can make money out of a utility token, it's finished. Right now, today, is the maximum adoption of Ethereum. Making an ICO on ERC20 with limited issuance was a mistake. 100% of the cases has been a failure. Ethereum have never had so much use cases as today. Yet the price went down 96%. It's undefendable.
Sure.
And what are the trends you see in future? Maybe you can answer.
No, like Stefano said, I think every recent meetup and event that we've had recently in Hong Kong and also in the region generally has been about STOs. I think in the next 6 to 12 months, from a VC perspective, advisory perspective, even exchanges, everyone it's been kind of tunnel vision on STOs. I also think that the STO market will go through a similar hype and phase similar to the ICO market, where there's going to be a lot also rampant bad STO projects as well. I mean, let's be realistic about that. Just because if it's going to be lucrative, then people will try to exploit it. So certainly, that's a trend that I see.
We have questions from the chat. If you don't mind, gentlemen, sure. What are the most promising blockchain startups for today? I mean, if you faced some?
My answer will be none of them. I think blockchain doesn't make any sense for 99% of the world. It makes sense for financial transaction, but it has absolutely no use for the entertainment industry, for pizza delivery, for 99% of those that stand on a stage and they say that they are going to solve a problem using blockchain technology. First of all, blockchain is not a technology. Blockchain is just one application of a technology called the internet. And if without the internet, blockchain will not work. We are referring to blockchain like music cassette or vinyl disc or MP3 or Spotify or CD or DVD. These are just medium that are delivering music. Blockchain is part of the DLT, which is the distributed ledger technology. If you talk to any bank, I mean, and it makes me crack laughing every time I hear someone going on stage say the banks are slow. No, the banks are very fast. But the banks, because they are very rich and they can buy any knowledge they want, they already know for several years that it is impossible for a bank to move into blockchain from scratch. They have to do it from scratch. They cannot migrating the accounts. I cannot migrate my bank account to blockchain. It's impossible. They have to hire new developers, new engineers, new infrastructure, new hardware, new sales team, new tech support. Everything will be from scratch. So there are other alternatives within the DLT. Blockchain is one chain. There is Tangle, there is Hedera protocol. There are many other to come. My purpose in this interview and in all the interviews that I'm doing recently, I've been in over 25 conferences over the past few months, is that there is no such a thing as blockchain as an innovation. Blockchain is 10 years old. The only innovation that was proven over the past 4 years was the smart contract in 2014, and that's it. There's nothing new in it. But there are new distributed ledger technology that understood that in order to watch a video tonight and get rewarded, like the entertainment industry and blockchain, I don't need to know what Kenny have watched 6 months ago. I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares how many pizza Kenny I had in order to validate my transaction. The purpose of the blockchain makes sense only if I inject currency in a system and I want to see where the currency comes from. So I make sure that it's not a double transaction. But the mining industry of Bitcoin, for example, 60% of mining is in the hands of 3 players. If these 3 players, they say, we're going to rewrite from scratch Bitcoin, and they have 51% of the consensus, it's over. Hedera says is 2 out of 3, which is much more reasonable. Tangle doesn't even require that. There are many more other coming up, and I think that the real revolution will be when distributed ledger technology will understand that blockchain was one of the children, and it wasn't the most successful. If we have been told that it was transparent, it isn't transparent. I give you a Monero transaction. Tell me who made the transaction. Nobody knows. They say they were scalable. CryptoKitties come along. 20% of the entire network is taken down. They say it was secure. You make a transaction to the wrong wallet, nobody will refund it to you. There is nothing that in the blockchain that is actually what they have told us, except for the fact that the transaction is immutable. And that's great for financial records, but not for what I've watched tonight on my television.
Well, don't you think that blockchain is kind of on the initial stage and it will improve and year by year? And
I think it's finished. It's absolutely dead. No. There is nothing in innovation in blockchain.
No, because what you said about financial transactions, that's applicable to to a lot of different types of businesses that do need transparency, right? I mean, you're saying banking is fast, but then, I mean, T+2 settlement is not fast. You know, like sending a TT wire and taking like 2 days to receive a bank wire is not fast. So of course they're implementing.
Kenny, reality check. Transaction with Visa and MasterCard for the past 50 years take 1 second. There is no problem with
no, I'm not talking about
you can
that.
go
I'm
around the world.
you
can visit 150 countries, 32 million merchants with Visa and MasterCard. You don't need cryptocurrency.
No, I'm not talking about credit cards. I'm talking about a bank wire from one bank to another, from one country to another, from Hong Kong to London.
Perfect. My bank account was in Singapore. We do pay now is real-time transactions. It's a 1 second transaction.
It's
the bank are not stable.
Exactly. I mean, I had HSBC Premier. You can do it in real time. I understand that,
yes.
but the average retail customer, average retail customer, it does take 2 days to send the bank wire. It does, right?
When I was living in the Middle East, one morning I woke up. I had 29 transactions in the US on my credit card. They spent over 14,000 Omani Rial, is approximately 25,000 USD. Guess what? The bank gave me back the money. But if someone steal my nano ledger and they spend $25,000 on my nano ledger, who gives me back the money? Authority is good. Authority is very good. Because if I send you, Kenny, if you give me your bank account and I type it wrongly, and I send you $10,000, the bank send it back to me. But if you give me your crypto wallet account and I type it wrongly, I lost it forever, and you lost it forever too. So for the sake of making it fast, I'd rather wait 2 days and make sure I have an insurance on my transfer. And my money is sent back to me. How much, you're probably good with numbers. How much money in transaction are lost on blockchain every year? How much money was lost since the beginning of blockchain? And nobody can recover those money because of the lack of a central authority. Central authorities are good.
Sure. I mean, it's like a whole nother discussion altogether. Centralization versus decentralization, right? I mean, and that's another topic. But what you say has merit. But certainly the whole spirit of crypto assets is the whole idea of being able to do things peer to peer, right? I mean, that's the beauty of Bitcoin at the end of the day, right? That we don't have a middleman of a government or banks and
because the middlemen are the exchanges like you. If you want to transact $1 worth of Bitcoin to another $1 worth of Bitcoin from one wallet to another wallet, if you do it on Coinbase, $1 costs $26. That is a 2,600% transaction. My bank is 5%. My bank.
Well, not to talk bad about Coinbase, but their trading fee is 1.5%. So it's yeah, exactly. I mean. But it's not, I mean, people don't have to go through exchange to buy Bitcoin, right?
Every single person that I've heard in my life that says that they want to cut the middleman, they want to be the middleman. And that's what exactly the cryptocurrency exchange do. The cryptocurrency exchange is a centralized system that wants to make the same thing that the banks do at a cheaper fee. But in the end, the cryptocurrency exchange is
you don't have to, right?
It's a bank.
But you don't have to, right? If I wanted to send you a Bitcoin and you wanted to send me a Bitcoin and so forth, as a medium of exchange and store value, you can do it, right? I mean, that's my own argument.
And you pay your transaction fee exactly like you do on a bank. If I send you $1 or if I send you a Bitcoin, it's exactly the same thing. In one case, I pay a bank. In the other case, I pay a crypto exchange. That idea of having distribution, not decentralization, it doesn't exist. After 10 years of blockchain, that's why I'm so negative about blockchain, because when they say it's innovative, it's changing the world. It hasn't changed the world. When was the last transaction that you did on Bitcoin? Christina, what was the last thing that you bought? Did you buy your headset that you're wearing today on Bitcoin?
Actually, I bought, no. Actually, here in Tokyo, I bought my earpods with Bitcoins in the store named Big Camera. There you actually can buy everything with Bitcoins.
Lucky you bought it before the price dropped. Before the price dropped 5 times.
It was on the way. It was on the way down. And gentlemen, that is a really hard discussion, but let me interrupt you for a second, just to remind everybody that the sponsor of this information stream is Astra International Mining Pool, responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Member shares never expire, 100% reinvestment on equipment. And yes, we have flash mob and we have more questions coming to our chat, and people, they are really interested how many money both of you gentlemen make with crypto.
I don't make money with cryptos anymore. I think cryptos market is finished, and only people that make market are people like Kenny, because they are running an exchange with so many robots that are trading 24/7. They are buying when it goes down 1%, they are selling when it goes up 1%, and they are making the money out of people that think that the market is not rigged, but the market is completely rigged by robots. Everywhere is market making. You try to list an exchange, you try to list your ICO on an exchange. Tell me if in the first 2 sentences they will not mention the word market makers. Market makers is always there. There's always a market maker that has to define how much money you will be losing. You as a person, you lose the money, the crypto exchange makes the money.
Okay, but what about the ship you are going to tokenize?
That's a different thing, because it's never going to an exchange, never going to an exchange. You see, the logic is this one, Christina, very simple. Let's imagine I've got my product, okay? And let's say it's a token. Let's say it's a token, all right? So I give to you my token, and you give me $100. Now I ask you to pay for the services that I'm offering, and so you give me your token because you have to pay for my services. In that case, I am both responsible of primary market, secondary market. And that's why it doesn't work.
Sorry, I got disconnected. Sorry.
Hey, Kenny, welcome back. So the idea of a security token, in my opinion, is that the security token should never go onto an exchange, but develop many bespoke, tailor-made crypto exchange for only my token. So I start an ICO, like the cruise ship that you were mentioning. They will be only purchasable on the cruise ship website. And you can only sell it on the cruise ship website. Because the moment you allow a token to be exchanged for something else, that's the end of the life cycle of the token. Because it goes back into your pocket, and you have to find someone else that wants to buy. The price will never go up. It's basic economy, basic finance.
Well, what is this token going to be secured with?
You can do it in many ways. The 2 main categories are backed by or linked to. If it's backed by, it means that the owner of the token, the holder of the token, is able to claim ownership on the asset. The other one is linked to, and linked to means that nobody can ever claim the ownership. Let's imagine I tokenize this watch. If the token that you buy, it's linked to this watch. If I break the watch, you can't claim anything. But if it's backed by, I have to pay you back. So this is the main distinction, backed by and linked to. Within this distinction, you can tokenize the shares of your company. You can tokenize the profit of your company. You can tokenize a physical asset or partial part of the physical asset of your company. You can tokenize a segment of your company. On the cruise ship, as you know, there is a casino. We can tokenize the casino performance. We can tokenize the physical cruise ship. You can tokenize the profit that the cruise ship is making.
Kenny, here I have a question for you. Do you think that we can tokenize everything?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you think that we can tokenize everything?
I think ultimately...
every assets.
Yes, I do think ultimately everything will end up being tokenized, whether we like it or not. I think, like for instance, stocks, real estate, especially like real REITs, everything will end up being tokenized because you can fractionalize your investment from a standpoint. Yeah, I think that's inevitable. Because of the blockchain feature, though, because it's essentially that much more clear in terms of like who owns what and so forth.
Yeah. Let me give you a very sad scenario, Christina and Kenny. How about tokenizing human organs? How about tokenizing people? That's the scary part.
Sounds horrible.
That sounds horrible. And that's where I'm afraid that the whole thing is going. With this idea of removing the central authority, what prevents a company to go and buy 70 workers, 70 people working in a farm and say, I'm tokenizing 70 people. And if they cannot pay back for the work that they are doing, I take a kidney out of their body and I tokenize that kidney for someone that wants to buy it. With no authority to control it. No Ministry of Health, no Ministry of Manpower, no watchdogs on the human rights. That's what this revolutionary technology that they are calling is actually a utopian, anarchic system that is going to eventually go anywhere. And if Kenny says, or anyone says, everything can be tokenized, it means human beings can be tokenized. Blood can be tokenized. Can you imagine your blood is tokenized when it's still in the veins of your blood, of your body, because someone can afford to do that? That's what's really scary. You guys forgetting the 2 billion people in this world, they have no access to the technology that we are using now called internet.
Sure.
2 billion people have no idea what we are talking about and will not have idea what we are talking about for the next 3 generations. But we can tokenize them if we wanted to. That's why I'm so strongly advocating, be very careful. There are some aspects, the blockchain needs to be regulated, needs central authority to define what can be done and what cannot be done. Otherwise, it becomes mayhem.
You know that those same people that you mentioned, though, the 2 billion people, they are also unbanked, and so certainly a lot of those people, because having access to a mobile phone, they'll be able to leapfrog actually the whole banking infrastructure as is. And
the story of Kenny, I lived in Africa before. The whole story of the unbanking is fake. It's fake numbers. I lived in Africa. And when I'm in Africa, I'm unbanked. Why? Because I don't need it. I can transfer money with a mobile phone without data, with the cell broadcasting. I don't need it. It's not because poor people, they don't have bank. It's because they don't need it. In Kenya, M-Pesa works faster and more efficiently than the paying system that we have in Singapore. They are unbanked, and they work faster in transacting. I lived in Uganda before. Guess where is the headquarters of Binance, by the way? So I know those places very well. The story that I hear of people going on stage saying there is 2.4 billion people that is unbanked is incorrect. They use a different financial system that is called mobile system. The banks don't want them. They don't want the bank. It's reciprocal.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because of access to a mobile phone, essentially they can leapfrog the whole banking. Like there'll be even more advanced systems that they can use on the phone that incorporate some of these digital assets. Basically, that's all I'm saying, is that they can jump from level 1 to level 3 without using a bank. The bank, I mean,
I totally agree with you. You know, in Uganda, we have to write outside our house. We have to write, "This house is not for sale," because there is no otherwise way to record who owns the house. So I know that blockchain has a great potential of impacting people's life, but it's also a very dangerous tool that can take advantage of people, con people. And probably out of the 3.2 thousand people that are currently online, I would like to ask a question to the audience. How much you lost this year? Isn't that taking advantage of people's finances? How many you lost? How much money you lost? I lost money this year in cryptocurrency. Many people did. So the industry is not saving the world, is not making the world a better place to live. It's just transferring the money. At the beginning was from God knows where, probably the guys that need to do some money laundry, into the pocket of the geeks. And now from the pocket of the geeks, the money went back to the pocket of the crypto exchanges and the banks, which are on the same level. They take the big money, and the guy that bought 2 Bitcoins last year because his friend told him buy is a good time to buy, he lost his money.
We have a lot of questions from our audience, gentlemen. Some of them are pretty funny. Like, do you know about tokenized porno sites?
That's where it get nasty. You see, tokenizing human organs, tokenizing prostitution, tokenizing pedophilia. Why not? Anyway, blockchain can do everything they want. That's what I'm very scared about. This should not be possible. It should not be possible. And there is no reason to know who masturbated before you in order so you can validate your masturbation. The blockchain and pornography doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid to think of a blockchain and pornography. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, let's proceed then to our last question. Do you think, gentlemen, that there is an end to this bear market?
Yes, the end is zero. The whole market will go to zero. Bitcoin will be worth zero. Ethereum will be worth zero. Stellar Lumen will be worth zero. Ripple will be worth zero.
You're so pessimistic. I mean, no, it's not. I don't think so. I mean,
I get where you're coming from, and yes, everyone has lost a lot of money this year, but it depends on your perspective. I think a lot of people have lost fiat value, but then one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. I mean, I think of it in that way. There's so many.
The major difference is 14 December 2017. When you're allowed to futurize the cryptocurrency is the end of the market. You let the big players in. It will never go back. It's 1 year now that has been futurized. And since that it has been futurized, the price has only gone one direction, down. There is no way up. They say that they are keeping positive. Everyone say we keep positive when it's $18,000. We keep positive when it's $16,000. $12,000 is the bottom. $9,000 is the bottom. $6,000 is the bottom. $3,000 is the bottom. You guys are repeating this every time. 6,000 they say is the real bottom because it costs more than mining. How much is an Ant miner now? It was $3,500 at the beginning of the year. It's $50 now. Who wants to mine? Those who manufacture it.
I just remember
Sure,
yeah, please.
I'm saying there's no way. You're right. There's no way to really calculate a bottom. But let's just say from a macro big picture standpoint, there are a lot of positive developments on the infrastructure side that institutions are not yet in crypto. I mean, we can all agree on that, right? And so
they are definitely in crypto institution. I sat with a banker in November 2017. They are pumping in cryptos in November 2017, 1 year ago, 200 million a month. Institutions are all in. I can't mention any of them, but if you look out of my window, you see the name of those banks there. They are cryptos for more than 2 years. 2 years. They control completely the market. It's not the guy that is coding in his garage.
No, sure.
It's no longer like this. It's finished.
Sure.
I'm very upset about it because I was planning my retirement on this. But it will never go up again. It will never go up again.
It never go up again.
All these stories just remind me that, as we all remember, I believe, 1 year ago, John McAfee, he said his name and I believe $10 million. He told actually that Bitcoin price in 2 years already will be about $500.
500,000.
Otherwise, he would eat his. There should be a peep. Okay, I'm not sure if these guys does that, but on the
I had a pleasure. I know John personally. I had the pleasure of drinking whiskey with him. He's a lovely person. He makes statements like we all do, and some of the statement happens, some of the statement doesn't happen. Any politician in the world, when they go to the television and make a statement on how much they're going to reduce the unemployment rate, the only thing that they don't say is that they will eat their penis in television. But other than that, everyone make promises based on the information that they have. So my promise that Bitcoin will be worth zero by the end of next year is as much worth as the John McAfee is saying that it's worth half.
It's not going to be worth zero.
I'm not going to put this on the chalkboard.
Not going to be worth zero.
Here comes my last question. I promise you.
I'll sell my organs and buy $1 or whatever. Like, yeah, it's not going to be worth zero.
Okay, if you were McAfee, which part of the body you would start to prepare to eat in 2 years?
I love John McAfee, but I don't think Bitcoin will ever exceed more than $3,500 ever again.
But what about you? What would you eat? What would you eat better?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What would you start to prepare to eat in 2 years if Bitcoin
my God.
will be $500,000?
I don't think I want to eat any human. Yeah, I mean his prediction is looking a little far-fetched, right? So I mean
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for such a hot discussion. I believe our audience liked it because we had a lot of questions and we actually running out our time. So unfortunately, I cannot ask you all the questions we have. But
thank you, Christina, for making a fantastic moderation, and thank you.
Thank you, Exchanges are not as evil as you think they are, but thank you, Stefano. Thank you, Stefano. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Keep us in line. We build the strongest mining company in the world. Tell us that it's impossible to earn money in honest ways. We have made a clear system where you can check every single Bitcoin exchange. Consider our solutions easy. We will invest 100% of your stock to buy equipment. Question the reliability of mining investment. We are ready to buy your share at any moment. Take our equipment. We are building mining farms all over the world and have an insurance fund. That way sudden losses won't affect our incomes. Think you decide nothing? We are building an active community where every opinion matters. Take your part in leading it by speaking up and giving your vote. Debate with us. We don't have offshores. Our public contract can be changed only if you wanted to. Criticize us. We have the cheapest equipment on the market, and the daily fee would cost you 14 cents US dollars terahash per second. Try to find an alternative? You'll be surprised. There is none.
again, and we have the third speaker for the second stream, and his name is John P. Riley III, he is the CEO of and co-founder of CNC Blockchain Advisory. Hello, John.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. Wow, it's so sunny up there. Wow.
I'm like, well,
it's
I'm
midnight
lucky.
in Tokyo.
Oh, it's midnight, yeah. So it's really different right now. So.
Completely. And, can you know more about your background?
Sure. Real briefly. So I was in the Oracle application space for about 17 years, consulting services, helping organizations with software implementations, business process changes, digital transformation, and custom end user training. And I'm also the co-founder of the blockchain hyperledger Linux Foundation meetup group, and also my own West Palm Beach blockchain meetup group that I've been running for about almost 2 years now, and got into blockchain about 2.5 years ago.
Great. Thank you so much. And let's proceed right to the questions, right?
Sure.
What challenges does blockchain have to get past to move closer towards and mass adoption?
Sure. I think the one thing is probably just the basic education for a lot of people. I've spoken at conferences and talking to executives, and still to this point of explaining kind of the difference between Bitcoin and what blockchain is still having people grasp that. And giving them just a basic understanding will allow them to move forward with saying, hey, why is it so important? Now that they know why it's important, okay, how do I start leveraging this for my organizations? So when they start hearing about things, sorry about that. When they hear about things that are going on with the cryptocurrency market, understanding that they're two different things. So just a basic understanding of what cryptocurrency is and what blockchain is will help them, or help many people move forward to leveraging it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. And some organizations are just getting into understanding blockchain technology. Are there any large organizations already moving forward with using blockchain?
Sure. There's just, I can name a lot. So on a global level, I would think people have heard of Walmart, Samsung, Apple is, Google is, Facebook is now. There are Alibaba, Airbnb, British Airways. There's just, now the list is just going on and on. When you look at major banks in the world like JP Morgan, and just as a whole, you see these organizations that normally would not move fast to this, the adoption of a new technology, have become very aware of the impact it's going to make, and have started moving forward. Even, with the things with the going on with the cryptocurrency market, they're still moving forward with projects.
I see. Is there other emerging technologies in the industry that blockchain would be able to enhance by combining with it?
Yeah, one thing I see out there is really big is blockchain combining with IoT. I think a layer of security that it needs, that's not there right now. So be able to secure those transactions and IoTs into blockchain really is going to provide value. And a lot of people have already started to leverage that and looking at how to apply that. So I think that's one of the emerging technologies blockchain will help enhance.
Do you think that because there is a lack of professionals in blockchain technology, do you think that studying and learning blockchain is really important for the future, for the blockchain society?
Absolutely. I think the better grasp or education people get about blockchain when they're going into it. And, like I said, I've been in the space almost 2 years now, and I've come across a lot of different people where they're trying to maybe apply their previous expertise in a different technology to blockchain, and understanding it's a different monster. And it's not something I'd say you're going to grasp overnight. It will take time, and the longer you're in it, the more you're going to see that I need to team up with people and partner together to understand it better. But also, it changes so fast that you can't say that you know everything about blockchain, because within 2 weeks, something's happened that has changed something that was always in place before. So it's one of those things where I say blockchain is moving at a fast snail's pace. And what I mean by that is, if you're in the space, blockchain it moves fast for us every day and every week. there's something going on. It's like, okay, what happened? What happened? But people on the outside look at blockchain as like a snail just crawling slowly across the floor. And before you realize it, the snail's gone. So now it's like, you know, if you're in a space, we tell people, start just learning about it, because if you try to jump in when it gets even faster, closer to mass adoption, it's going to be harder to catch up with everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for such answers, and thank you for being with us today. Thank you for finding some time for us, and thank you, my friends, for your time, and hope you learned something more from our second stream, and hope you had fun. Grab yourself some chips or popcorn and stay tuned, and do not disconnect, because we will have a small break for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll get back to you with other speakers and even more interesting information. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our free online conference, New Conference, run by New Economy Media in partnership with the University of Blockchain and Investing. The conference will be streamed worldwide from Facebook Live and our website. And not only will it be streamed live, but it is being streamed live. The topic of today's, the loose topic of today's panel is key problems in the cryptocurrency market and their solutions. This is a very hot topic, so we have the top experts in this space today to address and discuss it. Starting with Takeshi Ito, Senior Advisor of UBAI, the University of Blockchain and Investing, and John D. Story, Software Engineer at Consensus. Consensus, I got it. It's a wordplay. Before we start, I would love to present our sponsor for the stream, Astra International Mining Pool. Responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Members' shares never expire and they reinvest 100% in their equipment. Please remember that we have a flash mob running online right now. Please take a selfie where you're grasping each forearm with your other hand to show us you want to bridge the divide for a decentralized world, and use the hashtag CryptoStrong. Challenge 3 friends to join you and tag them in a post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And a note from conference sponsor Crypterium Crypto Bank. Crypto is the future of money, and Crypterium makes it a reality today. Feel free to ask your own questions that you'd like us to discuss in the comments section at any time during the conference. Lilia is going to go ahead and keep track of those, and I always bust in on the questions that we already have written down with anything that our watchers really want to know. So be aggressive, be passionate, and let us know what you want to hear from these two gentlemen. We're checking the chat all the time, and we'll gladly integrate your questions in the conversation we're happening real time. Got my eyeballs on her chat. And a note, before we start, I'd like to share one of the goals of this online conference. We want to help explain how this new economy works, where it's heading, and what it will be like in the next couple of years. We'll all need to learn how to live in this brave new world, just like we needed to understand how the internet worked a quarter century ago, my goodness, or how to harness electricity like we did back in the 1880s, which is even further away. We prepared courses for you, so please check the link in the chat below and our website for these educational resources on blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. With the benefit of UBAI, by the way, which is super awesome. Anyway, on the note of UBAI, I would like each of you to please introduce yourself. Let's start with Senior Advisor of the University of Blockchain and Investing, Takeshi Ito first.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Takeshi Ito. I'm the CEO of the IMG Global, and I'm currently working for establishing education and also recruiting and also finance businesses and blockchain field. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So much more than just Senior Advisor of UBAI. Thank you very much. That's why I make sure that you introduce yourself. John D. Story of Software Engineer Consensus. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm like you said, software engineer. I joined Consensus about 2 years ago working on a project called Balance. That was an audit. It's kind of like a mint for the blockchain to be able to classify transactions. Got really into governance and then moved into like governance of real estate. And I'm now working on a real estate. It's a security token platform. There's a lot of them out there kind of buying right now, but we're pushing forward our vision of it. And it's, yeah, basically real estate on the blockchain, fractional ownership.
Super cool. Thank you, gentlemen. So I'm going to start with the questions that we have right now. Do you mind, Takeshi, to start with a couple questions for you?
Yep.
Japan is such an intriguing place. Japan's embraced the crypto culture since Bitcoin was minted years ago, a decade ago. What are the 7 popular cryptocurrencies Japanese investors like to invest in? It doesn't have to be 7. That's a lot of cryptocurrencies. But what are the top few that Japan prefers the most?
Yeah, actually, the top 3 cryptocurrencies Japanese investors like to invest are probably something you can guess, like Bitcoin and Ripple and Ethereum. Yeah. And as to Ripple, many Japanese banks have now partnership with the Ripple, and banks are now in an experimental stage to use Ripple interledger technology to save money on interbank transaction.
Wow.
And the fourth one is called NEM, which is also spelled as XEM. NEM is kind of famous for fast speed transaction, and it can go over 4,000 transactions per second. Wow. But it also became famous when it was hacked in last January, and at one of the largest exchanges in Japan called CoinCheck, and the amount was 540 million USD.
Wow.
Yeah, that was huge.
I have a question.
And the fifth, yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, does Japan have like a Japan-centered cryptocurrency? You know, like I think of China and I think of like Neo or Tron or something. Does Japan have one that's like a lot of the people are rooting for because it's native to Japan?
Oh, excuse me, what do you mean?
I mean, just like originated there, like whoever wrote the white paper was living there. Sorry, we don't have to go down that hole.
No, it's okay. Satoshi Nakamoto, right? He's
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Allegedly, he's Japanese, is what I'm told. Like, it sounds like he is.
Yeah.
You were saying...
Yeah, NEM, yeah, not really popular outside Japan. So, and the fifth one is probably Cardano ADA, as you know well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sixth is also called Monacoin. It's spelled as a MONA, which is also actively traded on Japanese exchange called Zaifu, which is one of the largest Japanese cryptocurrency exchanges. And the seventh one is probably Litecoin. Yeah.
Litecoin. Yeah. Very cool. I'm going to go ahead and sweep them out. Like, I'm going to go from one question to you for one question to John. So just to completely change the subject, magically, hashtag crypto strong. What is your view of security tokens, John?
Yeah. My initial view is it's very, it's low-hanging fruit. It's like, you know, when the internet came out and there's things like the yellow pages, and it was like, oh, this totally makes sense to put the yellow pages in this new technology. Security tokens feel like that to me. It's not like a whole new, it's not like radical thinking, because we're having to codify a lot of the existing like frameworks and ways that people think about security trading into the blockchain, in a sense of sometimes where it feels like, oh, this isn't what the blockchain was kind of designed for. And to give you an example of that, sometimes with security tokens, you have to be able to give like a manager the ability to, if they're like court ordered to do something, to like, you know, mint or burn tokens, or somebody broke the law and remove tokens from that person. So you have to add in these, you know, these centralized controls to a token, which the idea is that you won't be using that very often, and there's still a lot of benefit to like standardization and creating these electronic records. Anyways, everybody that's into blockchain is kind of familiar with, but to me, it's kind of like, okay, we're making this new technology fit an old world model, and it's kind of like initial first steps, getting people comfortable with it. I think there's some really exciting stuff to come, but the stage of it right now is kind of like, we just need to convert everything into this new technology.
So it sounds like there's a stagification of cryptocurrencies now as it kind of evolves into something that might have more access to regulation and so forth. I mean, what you said sounds like a big backdoor as well when it comes to a super user account on each particular you know, on each particular security token. Yeah. Interesting.
Which is kind of existing currently. Like the backdoor right now in our legal system is pretty much just courts and the legal system. they can court order people to freeze accounts, pause trading. There's all sorts of stuff that, like, in order for something to be regulated and be available to this class of people investing in it, it needs these types of controls.
Cool. I don't mean to disrupt the conversation that much, but I'd like to go back to Takeshi, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, Takeshi, like, as we watch now, I just noticed there was some news about the SEC and, like, progress being made towards regulation in the United States and so forth. What are some regulatory issues that are unique or happening or in the near future that are happening in Japan?
Yeah. Actually, in 2018, we've seen a big hacking issue occurred in January, which was NEM, which was worth 540 million USD, was hacked.
Wow, yeah.
And also last September,
we've lost you in audio for a second. Either that or you're really super...
He's taking his time to think about it.
Yeah. While Takeshi gets his bandwidth back in movement, let me go back to you, John. What is your field of expertise in terms of blockchain projects? You know, you mentioned real estate, and with regards to real estate, are there any specific approaches to real estate related to blockchain, and any projects where you participate or are interested in investing?
Yeah, I would say that there are a few different aspects to real estate on the blockchain. One that gets brought up a lot is, like, title transfer. This idea, there's this huge industry of title insurance, and if somebody's bought a house, they'll understand there's this, like, going through this idea that somebody could have taken out a lien on their home. Like, say you had somebody do repair work, right, and it doesn't ever get recorded, and then years later they come back and they can have this, like, debt that's owed against your house. Anyways, there's all this, like, fuzzy world that exists around titles, and one of the big projects that we originally were exploring was this idea of, you know, doing title transfers on the blockchain. It's a harder thing to ask because you're asking governments to make their full transition of record to the blockchain, and it's just like isn't a lot of adoption for it. So we switched to more of a this fractional ownership, something that exists today. Like you're saying, my expertise is a little bit, my family's own real estate, like my dad and brother are brokers. And so, and I have, like, partial interest in a few buildings. And so it was definitely a product that was like, oh yeah, I would use this, me specifically. And so we're really pushing for the fractional ownership and increased liquidity. That's another problem of when somebody wants to sell fractional ownership of real estate, you get these really small localized markets that aren't always the best for price discovery.
So blockchain's the new condo board, like the new condo ownership can be in many ways 1,000 people, right? Like, oh yeah, I have real estate in Manhattan. On AM radio here, you know, like I listen to crazy overnight radio sometimes when I can't sleep, and they're always talking about people who can come in and steal titles away from you and so forth. I think that kind of, I don't know if that's just, like, you know, booga booga stuff, or if that's actually real. And if it is, that continuity of ownership and the tracking with blockchain might go ahead and if there's a will, there's a way, right? So if people, we've got Takeshi back. Hello, Takeshi.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be cool here and make it, like, really easy to go back and forth.
Sorry.
Hey, John, I'm going to pop back to regulation issues in Japan, if that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So, there were, some big hacking issue occurred in 2018, and Japanese FSA enforced stricter regulations against cryptocurrency exchanges and giving administrative punishment to, in total, of 20 Japanese exchanges.
Wow.
In 2018, and saying that they were not providing enough, internal management system or like infrastructure to protect customers' interest, like such as separating customers' accounts or fighting against anti-money laundering. So prior to coin check issue, Japanese FSA was just checking the documents submitted by Japanese exchanges and just let them run their businesses. But since coin check issue occurred, Japanese FSA has then decided to actually execute site inspections against all Japanese exchanges to check whether they're having good internal management system or not. So, and also Japanese FSA gave a warning against foreign exchanges, and like FUOB or like HIP BDC or other foreign exchanges started to withdraw their service temporarily from Japan market because Japanese FSA required all foreign exchanges to register as a cryptocurrency exchanges in line with Japanese Fund Settlement Act. So this is what happened in 2018. And in the future, what I hear from industry-related people is that Japanese FSA is going to establish a screening process so that not everyone can do his ICO. And this is partly due to the fact that the number of public complaints about scam, ICO scam project has increased, especially in 2018. And currently, the law which is applied to a cryptocurrency is called Revised Fund Settlement Act. And I hear that the Japanese FSA will revise this law and make it as close as the current Financial Instruments and Exchange Act by April 2020. So, but in terms of protecting customers' interests, this will lead to create a safer environment for investments, which is a good thing. So this is pretty much about the regulation side.
Well, what does FSA stand for, just for those of us who don't know?
FSA is a Financial Service Agency.
Cool.
Yeah.
In spite of that, all the scamming, I mean, we've seen it, and that hack that resulted in $500 million going poof with, why do you think the Japanese people are still, or have always been so bullish about investing in cryptocurrencies?
I think there are two major reasons for this. And one is, of course, especially like 2017, we've seen, we've seen many Bitcoin millionaire in 2017. And having seen that trend, many Japanese started to join the market, and actually those people who got millionaire were just, like ordinary people who don't really have a professional skills in finance or investments. And so many people, I think many people started to feel that, oh, this must be easy. And, if he can do it, I can do it, So this is one of the reasons why a lot of Japanese people started to enter into this cryptocurrency market. And another reason is something related to our social trend. In Japan, we have had a seniority system and also lifetime employment system, which is typical to Japanese, company.
Salaryman.
Yeah, salaryman. But those have been kind of starting to collapse. And now we are facing kind of aging population and also low birth rate issue.
Oh, yes.
And so many Japanese have started to feel, I think, some kind of uneasiness about their future, especially about the aging population, low birth rate issue. And according to Japanese Health and Labor Ministry, the number of population will become 60 million in 2100, which is almost like the half of the current population.
Wow, what a decline. Yeah. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, that's a big issue. And also about 1/3 of the population will be those people who are over 65 years old. So this is a big issue. So now what is happening in Japan is, like taxes and insurance premium will be raised, in order to sustain the current, social security service. For example, like we have a universal healthcare service, So especially younger people and younger people's like disposable income, will get smaller and smaller. So I think, the reason why Japanese people are so bullish about their cryptocurrency investments could be partly due to their, some kind of uneasiness Japanese people have about their future.
And they're predicting that they're going to have a big pot of money to be able to continue the quality of life that the Japanese have enjoyed, since Reconstruction.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad. We've always looked up to Japan as being, if you will, an epitome of civilization, and to see the struggle is never comforting to us. We lost all of our salaryman jobs thanks to Ronald Reagan in the 80s. So anyway, thank you very much, Takeshi. Please ignore that political statement. I've got a question from you, for you, John, from the crowd. What changes in the law are necessary for creating working blockchain technologies for real estate transactions?
Are they? I don't know if you can have some sort of a thing back and forth. Are you talking about just the title transfer, or do you think just the?
I don't know. What changes in the law are necessary for creating working blockchain technologies for real estate transactions? That's all I got. You can interpret that however you like.
Yeah, I'll go with that for title transfers, because that's the biggest thing. If I'll touch on the title transfers and then the fractional ownership. Fractional ownership exists right now, in current day. Like, I'm a fractional owner of a building. What you do is you form an LLC, and then you have a vested interest in that LLC. You write up like a cap table, and on that cap table it says I own 10%, and this is how much I paid for it. And what we're doing is essentially just, there's still going to be an LLC or trust or some sort of legal document, and then that cap table just gets put into the blockchain. So that cap table says that your interest in this LLC is relational to how many tokens you own at this address on this chain. And that's going to be kind of the way that it is going forward. However, the title transfers, I don't really think that any laws need to change per se. What they need to do is adopt the technology. For instance, like, they have county records, right? Some counties don't even have an electronic way for you to be able to like search for who owns what property. A lot of counties do, but they'll have like a paper document. And if you want to know, you have to actually go in and do it by paper. And when they transfer that to electronic, it's not that they're changing their laws. They're just making use of the new technology, right, to make it more public to people. And so the way that I see it is, there aren't really laws that need to change per se. It's totally available to do right now. What it would take is a county or a state, or really happens at the county level in the United States anyways. And that's why in some of these other countries like Dubai, where they have a more centralized land processing manner, there's a little bit more hope in other places that you just have to convert one government and then it will switch for everybody. But right now you would have to go county by county into the United States. And I don't even know how many counties there are, maybe like hundreds of thousands of them. And get each one individually to like convert onto this new electronic blockchain system way. So it's just a really big job. Not necessarily that it won't happen, but you'd have to have the people that are running the county also feel comfortable with blockchain. So it's more of a comfort level and less of like a legal level.
So who in the U.S. do you think is leading the way with regards? Are there any bleeding edge counties or cities or states that are ahead of the curve?
That's a good question. I actually, because we've kind of like stepped away from the route of land registry, I don't have a good answer for that.
No problem. That's interesting. I'm executive editor of Newconomy.media, so I'm always looking for really interesting articles to come up with. So maybe we'll do a little bit of research into that and have the answer for you.
I've heard that there are. Sorry, I was going to say, I've heard that there are some counties that have opened up like APIs So if you can like register your title. Right now you have to like, I'm not exactly sure if the title company actually gives your title, like a copy of it to the county recorder. But I've heard that there are some that have started opening up APIs so you can do it all electronically rather than having to send like faxes or a copy of it over.
Hey Takeshi, do you have any experience is there any blockchain associated fractional ownership markets in Japan or Tokyo or the ability to use blockchain in the future with regards to transferring titles or anything in that regard? I assume if any place is going to be both lo-fi and hi-fi enough in terms of technology, Japan might be an innovator.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't have that an experience in that field, so
I just thought I'd ask.
Mention.
Are there any innovative, unique ways that blockchain is being used in Japan that doesn't just include cryptocurrency and assets and so forth? Is there any projects that you've seen in the crypto in the blockchain world that you find interesting, or in general?
Yes. The thing I'm thinking of, because I'm thinking of doing, like educational and recruiting business, and I'm thinking of applying the blockchain technology to, especially about the recruiting business. It's currently, if you look at the like recruiting business, recruiting companies, what they do, it's totally, like centralized, like business. The company has the power, they have a control to all the customer information, and
it's centralized for sure.
Yeah.
A decentralized model would be pretty interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking of, using the blockchain technology to.
That's real estate exciting. The decentralized nature of being able to get the power of that out of just a few groups that control those listings, right? I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. John.
Yes.
It's okay. We don't mind seeing background characters. It's a real world, right?
We had a visitor for a second.
It's okay. The question that I have for you now is: can you express your opinion on governance in your previous crypto projects, such as DAO House project? Does that question make any sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It does. So kind of the way that I got into the more real estate. So my big hope for blockchain is that it revolutionizes our government. Basically, and again, this is coming from a United States perspective of like, we had this government that was formed pre-telephone lines, electricity, internet, that just had like a lot of things put in place based on how the society was at the time. And I really think that smart contracts and blockchains would be able to like change. And at the time I was thinking, well, it doesn't really make sense to try to like model a whole entire new governance system. Like, okay, we're going to switch out the government of the United States with like this new government. And so I just decided, what's like the smallest way to try to start on this idea without it, being so huge it'll never be adopted. And that was via control in real estate. So how some sort of piece of real estate gets managed, whether that's like a park or a communal house that maybe you own with 5 people, or family cabin, like a vacation home. Some people share those between family members, and how do you go about managing that in a way? And so that's what DAO House was. The initial vision of it was we were going to buy an island and then have this island be managed by blockchain, and how we were going to set rules. And I wrote a whole entire like white paper on it. If anybody's interested, I don't know if I can send you the link and you can just post it, but it's just DAOhouse.org, it's either .net or .org. Shoot, I haven't been there for a little bit.
Well, it's hard to forget because the Bauhaus movement in Germany,
exactly. It's spelled the same way. If people are
I visited back in '96. I visited Helsinki, and Nordic people have like a complete natural way of families sharing properties. They'll all go in on friends will go in on a boat, or friends will go in on a summer cottage or something like that. And like America's like, that is my boat, that is my house. And this concept of fractional ownership, I think, is probably something in the future. And I think it's very interesting.
Even for things as small as like a lawnmower. Like I've been thinking about it for like even sharing around a community, like a pickup truck. Another example is our family doesn't actually own like a pickup truck, but we've partnered with like another family where we like share the costs, and we have this shared pickup truck for when we need one. But it like doesn't make sense to like own one outright, because it's like, well, how often do we actually use it? And it's this idea of like more of like the sharing economy of like, it doesn't make sense to fully own something that you're only going to use once a month. You know what I mean?
Smart. And when that one family leaves, that moves somewhere, you can always pitch the new family and say you can just transfer those tokens or buy and sell those tokens, right? Takeshi, I don't want to leave you hanging. I would love if do you have any other ideas that you would like to share with our viewers with regards to maybe UBAI, your other organizations, your other companies, or the Japanese culture with regards to crypto or blockchain? We'd love to hear that. Oh no, is he frozen again, or is he just really angry at me? Okay, we'll wait till you get back to us. I find it very fascinating about the population changes in Japan. I think Italy is going through something like that. A lot of other European nations, people just don't want to make babies anymore. It's very, very, very strange evolutionarily. Do you have anything else to add, John? Story? You're a story. Your last name is Story. You must have some story left.
Yeah, I could talk for a long time. I don't know what time this is set to end at, but
I think maybe I'll wrap it up. No, we started a little bit late. But if you don't have anything else, how are we doing, Victor and gang? Do you want to pop a click letting me know if we have a couple more minutes, or if I should start closing words? Well, why don't I give you 5 more minutes, John, okay, to tell us whatever you want about blockchain or crypto or anything related, and then I'll start closing down the.
Yeah, I guess the thing that's really been on my mind lately is this idea of there's a kind of popular book called Radical Markets that got some attention in the Ethereum community. Vitalik wrote a paper with the author, and anyways, it's this idea that our conservative economic ideals, such as capitalism, back in the day were very liberal. This idea that they were revolutionaries, that this converted this, like during the French Revolution, that the idea of conservatism of economic policy didn't exist, and that was a very liberal way of thinking. In the same way that now these new ideas that are coming out, like if you read Radical Markets, it kind of opens up markets in a much more drastic way by getting rid of private property. And I think it's a really interesting thing, basically this idea that nobody can hold a monopoly and everything is for sale always. You'd have to really read the book to I can't explain it all to you, in this call. But my big hope is that things with smart contracts and how people own things or how people use things can really transition to a much more fluid mechanism, so that really best use of land can be established. They talked a lot about Hyperloop and a lot of the problems dealing with running a long stretch of land, and if only one person in that area decides not to sell, for regardless of price, how it can totally disrupt a common good that would be good for the entire society, but that because of one person, because we have such strong property rights, we're really grasping onto this idea that nobody can ever take that land away from them, even though it's going to benefit the lives of millions of people. and we can get into this like dystopian like vision of like, well, who can take my stuff away and how this all works. But it's like a new idea that I really want to push forward and make more people aware of.
And it's only a new idea in the United States. I mean, it's really, you know, internationally, there are a lot of people who will put the good of the many over, you know, over. I mean, I don't want you to talk too much about this over the next few years because I don't want the wall to necessarily manifest on the southern border because, you know, we'll crush all the people who don't want to sell. But I completely understand. Unfortunately, many of those decisions are made to put up ballparks, right? I mean, it seems like any time that decision is made, it's generally to put up, you know, I mean, the national stadium, if you will, took out entire city blocks. I'm sure some of those people did not want to sell for market value. So we have to make sure that when those decisions are made, they're made egalitarianly, if that's the right word.
Yeah, the idea is that in the book he covers how the idea is that people don't ever set, or the government never says, or whoever's buying never says how much this thing is for sale for. Basically, you say, this house is worth, or whatever thing, it's worth $200,000 to me, and I'm paying $200,000. The way to counterbalance somebody just setting like $1 million on something that's not, is they have to pay the taxes, the actual tax. Right now, there's a difference in the United States on what people claim their property is worth and how much it gets taxed on. They're not the same value. Where if you had to actually pay the tax of what it's worth, and it's up for sale at that worth as well. So you say, this house is always up for sale if somebody's willing to pay $300,000 for it. You're kind of like, well, I believe it's around $250,000, but if somebody's willing to pay that much, and I'm willing to pay the tax to say that it's worth that much,
that's like a tax. Like that's like a rent, though. Like it's someone who owns the property all of a sudden becomes a renter because their rent is based on whether or not they can pay the tax. So much. I'm going to read the book, though. You definitely got in my head, John's story. I'm sorry that we lost Takeshi Ito. If you don't mind, John, I'm going to start reading all the promotional spiel. It was great having you and Takeshi here. I know that there was a little bit of this because instead of this, there's a little bit of this because two different topics, but both of y'all were very fluid with regards to it. So thank you for the flexibility. And thank you again, our sponsor, Astra International Mining Pool, responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Members' shares never expire and they reinvest 100% in their equipment. I'd like to remind our entire audience that this is just one of our conference topics. More news and speakers to come. Please read our announcements, follow us on social networks, and connect with us and give us your feedback. Thank you so much to the community who've been watching us for that amazing question for John. We appreciate your input. Thank you, Lilia, for being awesome and feeding me that question. Please read our announcements, follow us on. We're welcome all blockchain related communities and like-minded people. Our conference is all embracing. We'd like to think that it is for sure. And as part of that, please remember that we have a flash mob running online right now. Please take a selfie. John, I expect you to do this. Please take a selfie where you're grasping each forearm with your other hand to show us you want to bridge the divide for a decentralized world, and use the hashtag CryptoStrong. Challenge 3 friends to join you and tag them in the post. And we've prepared courses for you and access to the stream for longer than just a day or so. Please check the link in the chat and our website for these educational resources on blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. Again, really quickly, Takeshi Ito, I really want to apologize that we didn't get more of you because of technical difficulties. We did appreciate you being here. I want to make sure that is said. And final note from our conference sponsor, Cryptarium. Ooh, I almost locked up there. Almost froze myself. Thank you, Cryptarium, Crypto Bank. Crypto is the future of money. Cryptarium makes it a reality today. And finally, thanks to Takeshi Ito and John D. Story with an E, Storey. Have a great, amazing, and productive rest of the day, and I will see you all you watchers, all your visitors, the community. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much for spending your most valuable resource with me. That is with us. That is your time. Up next, Dana Garrison will be moderating a panel on the exciting topic of whether to choose cold wallets or exchange accounts, how to secure funds for different types of market participants. Thank you very much. Crypto strong, everybody. Thank you, John.
Cool. Thank you.
us in line. We build the strongest mining company in the world. Tell us that it's impossible to earn money in honest ways. We have made a clear system where you can check every single Bitcoin exchange. Consider our solutions easy. We will invest 100% of your stock to buy equipment. Question the reliability of mining investment. We are ready to buy your share at any moment. Take our equipment. We are building mining farms all over the world and have an insurance fund. That way sudden losses won't affect our incomes. Think you decide nothing? We are building an active community where every opinion matters. Take your part in leading it by speaking up and giving your vote. Debate with us. We don't have offshores. Our public contract can be changed only if you wanted to. Criticize us. We have the cheapest equipment on the market, and the daily fee would cost you 14 cents US dollars terahash per second. Try to find an alternative? You'll be surprised. There is none.
To be here. My name is Scott Douglas Clary. I am coming to you from Toronto, Canada. I'm working with Nuconomy to bring to you a segment today speaking about the complex world of new age fundraising. So we are going to speak about ICOs compared to venture capital investment when it comes to raising money for your startup. So who am I? A quick little bio. My background is in tech business development. So I worked with one of the largest telecoms in Canada, bringing technology to Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies. I've pivoted since then and now work for myself, consulting a lot of early stage startups. So it's not just in blockchain, but I work with companies who focus on machine learning, health tech, AI, big data, robotics, anything to do with emerging tech is kind of what I love, my wheelhouse. And obviously, a lot of those companies are involved in blockchain projects. So I'm going to speak to the types of fundraising methods that they look to specifically in blockchain, because there's obviously been a lot of talk about ICOs, which has now evolved into ITO or a STO, a security token offering, compared to traditional fundraising methods. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to speak about the goals. What are we looking to accomplish when we compare and contrast venture capital investment, traditional investment, to new age ICO token investment? So when I say venture capital, I refer to either a venture capital firm, which invests on behalf of their investors. They have access to a large amount of high net worth individuals. Or I'm talking about angel investors, which are usually one or a smaller group of high net worth individuals. So when you look to go to a venture capital firm, angel investor, traditional investment options, you're looking for experience. So what do they bring to the table? So when they are going to invest in you, they're going to be a partner in your business. So they've probably done this before. They probably have experience and have been successful in whatever field they're in. So you're looking for their experience to help your business grow. You're looking for their connections. You're looking for the network that they have access to because they've been successful and they probably have invested in other companies before. They probably have access to a group of high net worth individuals that will also invest, and sometimes they'll act as like the lead investor, and then they'll bring in a group of other individuals that will also invest alongside them. You're looking for their guidance. So they've done this before. Like I said, they've built businesses, they've been successful. You want their guidance in your business model. So obviously you have to, get it, maybe say 90% of the way there in terms of the idea or the MVP or whatever it is. But they can offer a lot as well. So they can really help you bring your business to the next level. For example, you may not be an expert in all the things that are required to build a business. You may not be an expert in hiring and onboarding, finance, sales, marketing, but you may be an expert coder. You may be great at developing your widget or your software. So they're going to not completely fill all the gaps, but they're going to offer some insight. Validation is very important as well. So they're going to validate your idea. So you're going to get a lot of rejection, but that's good because it's going to tell you that what you have to fix. They're not just going to give you rejection and give you no insight. These people love business. They love building things. They love seeing things grow. That's their job. So they're going to give you real feedback that as long as you can take it to heart, and that's a whole other discussion, how you receive feedback and use it to improve your idea. As long as you can take it to heart, you're going to understand very quickly if your idea has a target market, has target clients, does it make sense, has it been done before? And if you haven't figured that out yourself, they're going to help you validate that idea. So it's very good to use them for that back and forth. And lastly, I say influencers, and not in the horrible like Twitter shilling your project influencer way. I mean, they're going to influence, like I said before, their connections and their network. And they may be able to pull resources that you may not have or you didn't even know you had. You would actually need for your business. So they're going to help in the way they're going to influence their network to come on side and come on board with your project. Now let's talk about ICO. So ICO is obviously initial coin offering, also called initial token offering. And if you're looking to securitize assets, a security token offering in more regulated areas of the world. But essentially what it is you are creating a token that has high liquidity, availability, and can be disseminated to large groups of people internationally without any sort of geographical restrictions, which I'll speak about later. But it is it is something that's become very much in vogue in the past 2 years, maybe 3 years now. Obviously, massive amounts of money have been raised almost instantaneously, and it's become very popular for startups looking to build in the blockchain space because it kind of ties into the blockchain ecosystem. So what's so attractive about an ICO if you're looking to do one? Obviously, traditional ICO would mean you maintain 100% equity in your own company. So you do have assets that you give out that you use to raise money, or tokens for utility on your platform, whatever that may be, but you are still maintaining 100% equity in your company while raising significant money, which is super attractive because if your company does not have a great evaluation, venture capital firms or angel investors will usually take a piece of equity. And it may be significant if your company doesn't have a great evaluation or doesn't have revenue or doesn't have customers. So obviously ICOs are very, very attractive in that way. Quick to market, obviously this could change if ICOs become more regulated in certain parts of the world, but traditionally you can bring your product to market much quicker because you can raise money much quicker. So you don't have to go physically speaking to venture capital firms, which can take a significant amount of time and resources. You can raise money relatively quickly. We're talking within a couple minutes to like a month. And then you can now take your product to market if you raise enough capital. So obviously that's very attractive for a founder who wants to start building his business right away. Now this may have changed a little bit. So this deck can be a little bit outdated, but not having to prove a path to revenue and not having to have an MVP initially. So when you go to a venture capital firm, they'll probably want to see an MVP, or they'll probably want to see some clients that have signed an LOA or something like that, just to make sure that there is a market, there is a client, there is revenue for your company after their initial investment. Because all a venture capital firm wants to know is, how am I going to make my money back? It may seem like they want to partner with you, and they probably really do, and they probably really love your idea, but they don't just want to sink their money into a hole that has no exit event. So make sure that you, when you work with a venture capital firm, you have these things. But with an ICO, traditionally, you didn't have to have these things, which is what made fundraising through an ICO so attractive. Community focus with an ICO, you're advertising to a mass group of retail investors. So as opposed to a venture capital firm where 1 or 2 or 5 investors may invest $100, $500, $1 million, you have, like, say, thousands of retail investors that may invest between $100 to $500. Obviously these are just random figures, but the point is the average investment can be much smaller because you have a much wider community to market to. Okay, so what that means is once those community members are built and they invest in your project, now you have a group of 1,000, 2,000, 30,000 fans that have done micro investments into your company, and they're all going to champion your brand for you. They're going to help market for you. They're going to do guerrilla marketing on social media. So there's a lot more of a community focus in building that up with an ICO as comparing to a venture capital firm where there's only a couple of individuals involved at a grassroots level. And obviously niche markets. So when this is why ICOs are popular in blockchain, because it fits into the ecosystem, and people love in the blockchain space investing in a company that's building something that help crypto or blockchain. So obviously you're targeting a very niche market of individuals that believe in technology, have this idea of a better future, and that's really how you're going to brand yourself. You're going to be building something that's really going to create something better for the world. So it's a niche market of people, and that's your main goal, to target that niche market and to solicit investment from that group of people. So let's talk about the audience. I already touched on this a little bit, but the venture capital audience is more experienced. On average, they're much smarter. They've done business, and they've lost a lot of money, made a lot of money than your average ICO investor. I don't mean when I say, I should probably say when I say smart, I don't mean like intellectually smart. I just mean that they're more used to dealing with investment in startups, whereas the average individual may be extremely bright, but they don't invest on a day-to-day. So venture capital firms are more risk adverse than the average person who may have not lost millions of dollars by investing in a bad startup in their past. They're more tenured again. They're difficult in the sense that, again, this all stems from them losing money or not wanting to lose massive amounts of money, When there's more money on the line, obviously the due diligence they're going to do into your company, the burden of proof that you have to prove to them that your company will execute on their vision, the right people are involved, you're going to do extremely well, is much higher, right? Because they're risking now hundreds of thousands or millions of their dollars as opposed to $100 from a retail investor. But at the same time, they're more reliable because once they believe in you, they're not going anywhere. They're gonna do everything in their power to help you succeed. So it's once you have them on board, they're much more of a loyal investor. An ICO investor is generally amateur in the investment space. There is somewhat of like a flavor of the month attitude, like what's hot right now. It may be, what's hot right now is what was hot 2 weeks ago, and that's going to influence how they choose to invest. In general, again, the uneducated investor doesn't mean they're uneducated as a person. It means that they don't invest a lot. So this was the traditional ICO investor. And this was the case when ICOs first became a thing because there was nothing to compare and contrast them to. So everyone investing in ICOs was an uneducated ICO investor. Now you'll see a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if you want to say that they're a little bit more hesitant to throw money at projects, but there have been a lot of failures. So obviously even the retail investor is becoming a little bit more knowledgeable of investment and startup culture and space. I don't think the traditional ICO investor had the same type of value or sentiment towards a project that a venture capital firm would, simply because there isn't as much time and money and resources invested from that amateur ICO retail investor. So when you only invest $100, obviously you're not going to spend a ton of your time and effort trying to make sure that project succeeds compared to a venture capitalist who will invest $1 million plus, for example. So these are all things taken into account when you're looking at your different audiences and who are you looking to actually speak to when you market. Requirements are much different. So if you look at a venture capital requirement, what do they look for when they want to invest in you? They're going to be looking for a strong team, a working product. They're going to be looking for maybe potential customers, revenue, and they're definitely going to be looking for equity or convertible debt, but usually a fair amount of equity in your company, comparing to an ICO investor, which will look for a strong team because they still know that from a traditional point of view, if you don't have a strong team, you're not going to succeed. But there's more of an emphasis on technical know-how. So obviously in the ICO space, the technology is king, right? Like if you don't have the tech, if you don't have the development power, like you're not going to make it because blockchain developers already are, few and far between. So it's not like if you raise money, it's easy to go find somebody who's going to execute. You still have to make sure you have a good technical founding team or committee that's going to guide the future of your company. So I think that having a technical team is very important in the ICO blockchain space. Working product, there's more of a push towards having an actual working product. Obviously, sometimes this is difficult because the products are so complex and require capital to build. But I think that most investors in the ICO space like a little bit more than just a white paper. So something a little bit more tangible, and that's sort of come to fruition and evolved as the ICO space has evolved. This sort of brings it back, my last point, industry-specific expertise or experience. Niche market, harder to find blockchain, DLT developers. So when an investor looks at a project, they make sure, again, you have the technical know-how. So sort of the same technical know-how point, but still very industry-specific experience is required. As blockchain becomes more commonplace, more user-friendly, then the technical know-how will be less of a requirement. But right now, I think that's still very much on people's minds. Accessibility. So accessibility is a big part of garnering an investment. Because you need to figure out how to get to those people that have money. So with a venture capital firm, you 9 times out of 10 will have to go face to face and pitch to them. You will have to pitch your idea. Very intimidating, but that's a whole other skill set that you can learn as a CEO or a founder. But you will probably have to talk to them face to face. When you bring a venture capital firm on, the first one is always the most difficult. When you bring somebody on, they're going to lead investment. And act as a primary and bring either their their firm in, a group of high net worth individuals in, but they will champion you, but you have to get the first one on board, which is always the most difficult. And also geographically, because you have to pitch to them face to face, you will physically have to go to their office. Most often, if you're going to seal a significant deal, and so you need to be close to proximity. So that obviously could limit your ability to find investment if you have to physically go to offices, or whatever city you're based out of. You maybe feel like you're limited by the firms that are located in that city. So obviously, with a venture capital firm, it is a little bit more difficult because of the accessibility. ICO, again, super attractive, global market. You don't have to be in front of people to secure an investment, because you are literally advertising to the world, or the countries that you choose to advertise to. So the only borders that you would encounter would be regulatory borders, and those are not geographical borders physically. So obviously, it's much easier to get a mass amount of people involved in your ICO or your project or your ITO, and you don't have to go visit them all face to face. Okay, so those are the two types of things to think about when you're talking about accessibility. How are you actually going to physically get the investment? And public perception. Public perception is big. So in venture capital, it's tried and tested. As a startup, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, if you get an investment from a great venture capital firm, that can add to your credibility. You'll have a lot of familiar names in the space that do a lot of big deals, and your investors will share your failures because they've done their due diligence and they know what your project is about. Now, let's compare that to an ICO investment, where if you offshore your company and you look for money and you say, we don't want any countries involved in our project that may have higher regulatory thresholds to meet, that may have negative perception of your project. Like there may be a little bit less of any sort of credibility tied to your project by going through an ICO as opposed to looking towards a venture capital firm. So if you get a venture capital investment, nobody will look at it in any way positive. But an ICO, either people won't really understand what it is, but there definitely won't be the same credibility that'll be added to your project that you would get from a venture capital firm. Now, again, outdated deck, there are ICO investment firms that may have a little bit more credibility behind them, because venture capital firms have now understood the value of tokenized assets, and some forward-thinking investment firms are investing in these types of projects. So they are few and far between, and not as many as traditional venture capital firms. But you may still get some venture capital outlets that will look to invest in tokenized projects. And lastly, with an ICO, if you fail as a project, unfortunately, you'll be labeled as a scam, because there are so many malicious actors in the space. Failure does not bode well. And also, you have kind of built this community up of people, of micro investors that are watching your every move. When that happens, you have basically opened up your project to the masses. So if you fail in public, which is always very tough as a CEO or a founder of a project. And just to summarize everything we've spoken about today. So the high level benefits of a VC, so you have investor loyalty, business guidelines, and knowledge support. You build valuable connections, and you have great sentiment, credibility, PR credit for your project from a very, very early stage. And compare and contrast to the benefits of an ICO, where you have freedom, you don't have to give up equity, you don't really need the same burden of proof when you're building out your MVP or your initial concept. There's no geographic limitations to investors, and there's significant rapidity. The fact that you can take your project to market very quickly, and there's not as much bureaucracy when you're dealing with ICO investors as opposed to venture capital investors. Now, the one point that I want to conclude after speaking about the benefits and negatives of each is that you don't have to pick just one. What I mean by that is that when you're looking to raise money, you should look at as many outlets as possible. You don't have to inhibit yourself. So, and I usually am sort of, when I say this, I'm focusing more on the people that are looking to conduct an ICO, not so much the people that are going to traditional venture capital. Because I think that people that focus on conducting an ICO sometimes miss the benefits of traditional venture capital, simply because they sort of jumped on the bandwagon and wanted to conduct an ICO because they thought it was a quick way to raise money, which sometimes it may be, sometimes it may not be. But I think that to completely forget about the benefits of venture capital is quite foolish, actually. And I think that as a founder and a CEO and an entrepreneur, I think that you should look to both outlets and weigh the positives and negatives of both, and really, really make sure that you have come to terms with which one you'd like to go with, because money's not easy to get, and you will have to put in a lot of work to get it, in my opinion, if you really want to do well as a founder of a company. But I really think that looking at any possible option will be to your benefit. So that's really my spiel, my segment today. I really, really appreciate you guys joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope you had a great experience. My contact information is on the screen there. Reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Day 3 wrap-up summary. We're really excited that you've spent the day with us, and we're happy to have you here checking out what happened on Day 3. I just want to wrap up the conference, but before I summarize today's events and streams, I want to mention our partners and sponsors who help us organize and run this conference. Those are Crypterium, Crypterium Bank. Crypto is the future of money. Crypterium makes it a reality today. Astra International Mining Pool, responsible mining with a focus on transparency and sustainability. Members' shares never expire and they reinvest 100% in their equipment. InstaChange, buy Bitcoin, BTC at the best available rate. Crypto-Index.io, the benchmark index for the cryptocurrency market of the future. And CREX, first hybrid crypto exchange with centralized and decentralized architecture. So the conference was amazing today. Thank you for attending if you did. We received yet another generous helping of deep knowledge that will help guide us through the complicated world of crypto both today and tomorrow. Please let me remind you of the topics and speakers of today, day 3. In the first stream, the topic was crypto projects in different countries. That was with Yaliwe Soko, Chairwoman, African Blockchain Association, with Nadezha Surova, Director of Institute of Management and Social Economics in Russia. And stream 2 was mass adoption of the blockchain technology. First person was Kenny Shi, Executive Director of CoinSuper. Stefano Virgili, ICO Advisor, VOX.SG. And John P. Riley III, CEO and co-founder of CNC Blockchain Advisory. In the third stream today, which was my stream that I moderated, pretty excited and proud of that, the topic was major problems and solutions on crypto, in the cryptocurrency market. With Takeshi Ito, Senior Advisor, the University of Blockchain and Investing, UBAI, a sponsor. Number 2 who attended was John D. Story, Software Engineer at Consensus. And finally, in stream 4, which was a panel discussion, cold wallets or exchange accounts, how to secure funds for different types of market participants. The attendee there, the expert there was Dmitry Domenchko, Chief Sales Officer of Even Foundation Limited. Hopefully you had a wonderful experience and time with us. We hope to see you back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow is the last but not least day of the conference. We expect the largest attendance connected live of the entire conference tomorrow. So please come back tomorrow and grace us with your attendance. We'd be so appreciative. Please join us, make notes in your calendar, put stickers on your walls, and see you tomorrow. Thanks for attending today, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Clouds, I want to emerge from beneath the sky.